Welcome to class number 41, class 41, the expulsion of merchants from the temple. We'll be looking at Matthew chapter 21, Mark chapter 11, and Luke chapter 19. So around 2 million Jews gathered in Jerusalem every Passover. According to Joseph Flavius in 63 AD, on the day of Passover, 256,000 Passover lambs were slaughtered in the temple by priests, not counting all the small cattle and birds for sacrifices. To sell all these animals, the Jews turned the Gentile yard at the temple into a market square. They drove sacrificial cattle here, put cages with birds, set up shops, and opened cash registers. At that time, Roman coins were in circulation, but the law required that the donation in the temple be paid in Jewish holy shekels. The Jews had to change their money, and this exchange gave an income to the money changers. Now, when the Lord visited Jerusalem in previous times, he already drove the merchants out of the temple at least once. According to John, on the first Passover of his public ministry, saying, "Do not make my Father's house a house of commerce," thus calling God his Father. Jesus, for the first time, then publicly proclaimed himself the Son of God. No one dared to resist the divine authority with which he did this, because obviously John's testimony about him as the Messiah had already reached Jerusalem, and the conscience of the sellers was talking. But only some of them noticed. "By what sign will you prove to us that you have the power to do this?" The Lord answered, "Destroy this church, and I will raise it up in 3 days." As the Evangelist explains, he meant the church of his body. For example, when you destroy the temple of my body, I will raise it up in 3 days. This is the sign. It was natural for the Lord to talk about his own body as a temple because his deity was contained in it. The Jews, however, seized on the literal meaning of these words, and later at the trial they referred to them, accusing him of blasphemy. Now the second year, the Lord again came to Jerusalem for the Passover, but apparently he did not find any trade in the temple. And on the third Passover of his ministry, the Lord was not in Jerusalem at all. When the fourth Passover was approaching, the Jews were concerned about whether Jesus would come to the feast, knowing that the high priest had pronounced a death sentence on him, and thinking that he would not dare to go to Jerusalem to an obvious death. The merchants, with the permission of the high priest, again drove herds of animals into the courtyard of the temple. They set up tents of various goods, set up tables and cash registers, etc. And when the Lord entered Jerusalem and went straight to the temple, it was a surprise for them. And he again expelled the merchants from the temple, and again no one dared to oppose him, especially after the people solemnly greeted him with shouts of "Hosanna!" This is narrated only by the first 3 evangelists, and St. Mark writes that the expulsion was on the next day after the Lord entered Jerusalem. Maybe it was done twice. All right, that's the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for joining us.